Alright, shall we start? Reach you up a little bit.
Yeah, come here.
If you come one step from all directions, so one step, yes, start here, the corner, here.
Please get in the corner, please, here, please.
And to the left, please. Together. Super. Danke.
What happened to all that? What else?
Beide die Beine.
Mehr links, bitte. Aber die Mitte, bitte, bitte. Einmal hier wieder links. Mehr links, bitte. Links.
Yeah!
Links weiter. One more big one.
Oh wait, I'm gonna go to the other end.
Squeeze and listen. Squeeze. One step to your right, please. To your right, to your right. And one step forward. Yes, that's perfect. Hier bitte. Und los geht's. Und zu mir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Die anderen bitte. Und dann einfach alle geradeaus. Hier bitte. Danke. Thank you. Das ist alleine.
Super.
Aber hier.
Ja, nochmal nach links gehen, bitte. Genau so. Super.
Ganz kurz die Ecke.
Ja. Wow. Beide die Beine so hochnehmen an der Seite, bitte. Beide so machen. Beide so machen. Und dann zu dieser Kamera da schauen, bitte. Danke. Left.
Keith Jarrett's legendary Köln concert is the most successful live solo album in jazz history. The German film, Köln 75, tells the incredible story behind it. The film, by Israeli director Ido Fluk, premiered at the Berlinale Special Gala. Maler Emde plays the 18-year-old Vera Brandes, who managed to lure the great, always bad-tempered Keith Jarrett, played by John Magaro, to Cologne and give a concert. As a completely inexperienced promoter, driven only by the courage of desperation and huge enthusiasm, she prevailed against all odds, a miracle to which posterity owes a piano masterpiece. The press conference for Köln 75.
Hello, good to see you all. Welcome to the press conference of Köln 75 at the Berlinale Special. And we have a fantastic bunch of guests here. I'm going to introduce them to you, and I'm starting from your left. Please welcome the producer, Fred Burle. Hello.
Hello.
And another producer is Sol Bondi. Welcome.
Hello.
And a fantastic actor who played Keith Jarrett, one of the best actors for me at the moment. I'm really honest, John Magaro. It's so great that you're here.
Thank you.
Another really great actress. You're very convincing. Welcome, Maler Emde, who played Vera Brandes. And please welcome the director, Ido Fluk. Hello. And the actor who plays Michael Watts, the journalist, very important role also, Michael Czernos. Welcome to Berlin.
Thank you. Hello.
So I'm going to pose my first question to Ido. Thank you for this very delightful film about the scaffolding, as you call it, of a very important cultural phenomenon, this Cologne concert. Maybe first, how did you find, or how did you choose this story?
I read about the story of the concert in a magazine, and I thought, that's kind of interesting because, you know, we celebrate music stories a lot, and we have a lot of music films, and all the music films that we watch these days are about the artist. And here was a story about a woman who created the art piece by producing it, in a way. You know, no Vera Brandes, no Cologne concert, right? If you're going to take one thing out of today, remember that. Keith Jarrett would not have played his masterpiece concert without this woman. And yet, this woman didn't get her moment in the sun that she deserved. So we are here to do that, right? That was our intention. We said, here's a chance for us to tell a unique music story that celebrates the impresario. And as we know, as filmmakers, as people who make art, it's one thing to celebrate the artist, and we should be celebrating artists, but it takes a fucking village. And Vera Brandes is that person that we are here to talk about today, and that's what we made a film about.
Thank you. Maybe you can say, Ido, something about the decision to not have Keith Jarrett's concert then in the film. I mean, you have a great story, but still.
Yeah, so, you know, Keith Jarrett, he doesn't like the Cologne concert, apparently. He doesn't like that people celebrate it. And I kind of understand, you know, if you think of like Creep, you know, for Radiohead, and how they probably can't stand that song. And I think in a way the Cologne concert is Keith Jarrett's Creep. And so he played 1 million concerts, and by the way, some of them are incredible and maybe better musically than the Cologne concert. We reached out, he doesn't want to be a part of this. for me, it was a really interesting challenge. Okay, how do we tell the story of Vera Brandes without having the concert? That's what we do as filmmakers, right? We find creative solutions to this problem. And in fact, just like the broken piano that Keith played on to make this concert happen, this was my personal broken piano. And I had to solve it. And my solution is the film. And by the way, the piece is long, and you can't put the whole, it's not a pop song. So in any case, even if we had this song, we would have a snippet. That's not a way to listen to this really profound piece of music. And I think Keith would agree with me that the best thing to do is watch the film. The film is how the sausage was made, and then go home and put the record on.
Yeah. That's what we're going to do. I think we're all going to take the record out of our collection.
Yeah.
But you still found, sticking with music, still found fantastic other music. I love that you did, that you had Flo de Cologne and Neu and things like this on the soundtrack. So maybe you tell us something about the decision to have these songs, and also like Debussy. You know, it's a great soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, 70s in Germany, so many incredible pieces of music were made. I mean, this is really the heart of music, you know, when you think of Kraftwerk, or you think of Neu and Can, and you think of Iggy and Bowie and Lou Reed, and everything was in Germany in the 70s. Not to speak about the, you know, Berlin Jazz Days, where we are having our premiere, which is an honor that I can't even describe in words, to screen this film at the very venue where all of the greats played. It's spectacular. It's such an honor, and thank you, Berlinale, for programming us in this very, very special place.
Of course, as this is a press conference, you can also raise your hand. Otherwise, I would go on because I have a lot of questions. Do you have questions so far? Then I'm going to go on and ask Marla about your preparation for this role. You met Vera, I think, and what did you know before this script about the whole thing?
So when I was 16, I guess I was pretty much a weirdo myself, and instead of going to the cool clubs, I actually went to smoky jazz bars. So jazz was not unknown for me, but I didn't know Keith Jarrett. I didn't know Vera Brandes. So then I once had a call with her. I was super nervous. I didn't know how she would like me, the girl who takes over her life, kind of. And I asked her, like, can we meet? I would love to spend some days with you. And she was so kind to invite me. Okay, you can come in 2 months on this date. I was like, okay, I'm booking. She lives abroad. I book a flight. I take a car. I drive 4 hours in nowhere land. And then it's night, and I come to a parking slot, and nothing is there. Nobody's there. And like, she is not coming. But then suddenly this car appears, and this energy ball-like woman jumps out of the car and is like, hello! And I was like, okay, everything is going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine. That's how I met Vera, and that was such a beautiful moment.
And so you both try to get all these anecdotes out of here in talking to her?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a couple of days with her, interviewing her, and after a while she really opened up and allowed me to go through her boxes and look through her memories, and we found some footage that she even forgot. And then I talked to Ido and Sol about it, and yeah, so it was really like a unique experience. I never before played a character that is still alive, and it's always a special responsibility if you play someone who was really here on planet Earth, but when you actually meet her and can take her hand and can look in your eyes and be like, you saw all this, you heard the music. That's just magic.
Ido, did you know that Marla is a jazz chick when you casted her?
No, I had no idea. I had watched films that Marla did, and I loved them. And then she walked into the room, and the oxygen rearranged itself. You know, there are moments in your life as a filmmaker where you, in the presence of a real, true talent, star, charisma, where you are sensing the molecules rearrange. And that's what happened when Mala walks into the room. And it was very easy for me because, you know, I told Mala, and by the way, I told John and Michael that too, that we're playing music here. So we're a band and we're doing this together, and this is our film. So sure, here's a script, but like, who cares? Let's have fun. Let's make it our own, and you're free. Let's be free about this.
So John, you were free. You liked it. It was your what you said. Did you experience it like this?
Yeah, I mean, very much so. I mean, I think there was just kind of a jazz-like marching orders to the whole thing, and also because it's an independent film and there's scrappiness involved, there has to be sort of a freedom to go with the flow a little bit. Obviously, Michael Alexander, my story is kind of separate from the younger world. So we were always a little concerned, are we going to fit into this world correctly? But there was a huge amount of trust in Ido to align the two worlds and make it all work out. But it was another one. It was just another script that I got that I just really responded to. I didn't know Keith Jarrett. The jazz that I was familiar with was before that. You know, I loved, you know, like Thelonious Monk, Chet Baker, that kind of, you know, earlier stuff, right? But this whole modern jazz thing was, and what Keith was doing was totally introduced to me by this script. So I was just really excited to be a part of it, and I've known Michael for a long time. This was our first chance to really work together. So that was a real treat, and everyone, the whole cast was lovely to work with.
It was really like a jam. When you came on set, you were like, whoa, another great artist you can work with.
So since Keith is not here, as we know, maybe John, can you tell us something what you learned about this character? I mean, you're totally convincing. I don't know how he is, but probably like you portrayed him.
He was really open to me. We'd talk all the time. No, I'm kidding. He had no interest in talking at all. And it's kind of funny because he actually lives in New Jersey, which is really close. I live in New York, so we could have totally, but he just had no interest. And if you watch this film, he's kind of salty. Like, the portrayal of him is a bit salty, and I think that's what he is. The closest I got to him was talking to his brother, who lives here in Germany, but even that wasn't necessarily the most helpful because his perspective is singular. It's very, I mean, family dynamics are tough. Keith is tough, and I don't know if that was the most helpful for me. Ido sent me some great books, one about the actual concert, the Köln concert, another a biography. I watched a lot of videos. I mean, that's one thing about Keith is there's a lot of resources and there's a lot of, there's interviews with him so you can hear him talk. There's the concerts he did in Scandinavia in the 70s are online and extremely helpful, especially getting his mannerisms and the way he played. And then it was really, you know, Keith on the page is kind of a mythology in a way. It's not even supposed to necessarily be Keith. It's this dreamlike storyline that sort of just guides you up until the concert. And I don't want to give too much away, but you know, Michael's character potentially is making this vision up, this idea of what Keith is. And I think oftentimes celebrity, or who we think of as genius or virtuosos or whatever you want to say, I mean, this certainly happens in acting. There's actors who build a mythology, we build a mythology around and almost make them superhuman and go into more analysis about their process than they ever had. So I think that's what's lovely about this, is that this is kind of building Keith into this mythological figure. But beyond that, my preparation was learning piano. And I had a great teacher, a guy in Scott Gentile, who lives in my neighborhood in New York, and we sat down for months and not only learned the plunking up the notes, I guess just the basic notes, but also really figuring out his style, why he did what he did, why did he do these odd movements, why did he make these sounds. And we had a lot of discussions, and Ido was included in this because he lives in New York, so he would come, and we'd have discussions about why he was doing this, what we wanted to portray in him. So it was a collaboration, but it was also, in a lot of ways, when the camera was rolling, very jazz-like, in the sense like you really just let whatever come out, come out. And that was a long-winded answer, but I'm done.
It's okay, we have time.
Great answer. Yeah.
Michael, maybe you can say something about your character. I've heard you're the only one who's not really based on a certain person. Is that true?
Yeah, I play a guy named Michael Watts, who's a music journalist who's desperate to talk to this mercurial genius, Keith Jarrett. And he's not a real historical person per se. He's possibly an amalgam of different journalists and people. But the thing I was really drawn to is Michael is this sort of character who stands out of reality potentially and is the audience's sort of guide, and in a way is their eye and their way in. And he also serves as kind of a historian of jazz to help us place this concert in the long history of jazz. And as John alluded to, it's possible that maybe none of this even happened and Michael doesn't even exist. And to me, that was so cool and jazz-like that Ido wrote this kind of sturdy, well-structured film, like the format of a jazz standard, and then totally fucks with it and improvises and subverts your expectations. And so that, to me, just in terms of like the form of screenwriting and filmmaking, was so cool that this movie feels like it's going to be this one thing, and then it's this other thing, and then someone else has a solo, and in itself is kind of like improvisational music in that way.
Okay, there's a question over there.
My name is Melanie Eckert. I'm a freelance journalist and working for Shelved. Well, first of all, I watched the film this morning, and I was absolutely delighted and blown away by it. I really loved it.
Thank you.
It was such joy, and it has so much heart and passion. Thank you very much. And the whole cast was wonderful, and I also loved you, Marla Emde, in the role.
Thank you very much.
It was a joy. And I really liked the script and pacing as well. And I'm a jazz lover, and I wanted to ask in regards of the pacing, to which extent jazz as a genre played a role, and if you, Mr. Fluk, also wanted to make jazz more likable and digestible for a broader audience.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm not a jazz guy. Thank you. You know, I like jazz, and now I especially like jazz, but I'm not necessarily just like a jazz head, as you would say. And, you know, I was in New York, and a big film had collapsed, and I was kind of down, and I was like, I'm going to write something without a plan, something free, something alive. I'm going to improvise the script. I'm not going to make any patterns for it, no outline, no steps, no treatment. I'm just going to put Coltrane on. And I was locked in because it was COVID. And, you know, my son is like Zoom school because schools are closed. And he's in the other room, like yelling with his friends on Zoom. And I'm like cranking Coltrane, just walking around my room and like writing it. So it's music. So it's not like writing like a drummer, not like a screenwriter. And I think that's what we tried to then get across through making this film, with the performances in this film, cutting this film, and then, like you said, music. For me, it's almost like more of a punk rock story, right? Because like it's about this really kick-ass woman who was like, who moved mountains to make this concert a reality. And so, yes, it deals with a jazz artist. And by the way, I love Keith Jarrett, and this movie is a love song to Keith Jarrett and to the Cologne concert. But it's a punk rock, teen spirit story of Vera Brandes producing it.
Thank you. There's another one on the left.
Hello, Catalina and Ona, Romanian magazine Conștiința. First and foremost, congratulations. It was a really nice film. I enjoyed it. The best I've seen so far at Berlinale 25. And I interpret it like a story of success. It's too bad that the real Keith Jarrett isn't part of it. Maybe he's missing out on something. It's a story of success from a personal perspective. Young Vera turns into an independent woman. She becomes a successful music promoter. She lives her life the way she wants. She is passionate about her work. There's the story of success of the great concert in Köln, in the opera, with all the ups and downs. And there's also a story of a failure, the relationship with the father, Vera and her father, which actually was kind of a frame for the film to me. Yeah. The film starts with the 50th anniversary of Vera, where the father comes and say, I am here to tell you, you are a big disappointment for me. And then at the end of the film, Vera, almost like an act of revenge, says, well, that means I've done something well in my life because you were a very bad father yourself. Mm-hmm. That's really, really harsh. And I saw that the real Vera Brandes is also here with us. I saw at the photo call. I would dare to ask, was that the real story, like 100% the reality, or was that also like the final touch to make the film a bit more interesting, like a bit of an exaggeration, on purpose? Thank you.
You're asking me?
Everyone.
From my end, I will say two things. One thing is, and you started by saying, too bad you didn't have the concert. For me, again, Keith's missing out.
That he's not involved
Keith is not
in
part of the project.
Just the same way that the Cologne concert would not sound and would not be like it is if the perfect piano was on stage, this film will not be what it is if Keith played ball. So it's what makes art good is the problems, right? As artists, we have to constantly face these problems and then we find solutions to them. And thank God this was our problem, and I stand behind the solution we found. I think it's a great solution. And the second question, someone else should answer.
I can tell a little story about that. On one of the first shooting days, these producers surprised me by sending Vera in. And suddenly, the real Vera stand in front of me. And on this day, we were shooting the scene in the house where the father, like where everything escalates and the father like kind of stop himself and they have, their huge conflict. And Vera was on set and she could watch on a little screen what was happening. And after like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 takes, I come over and look how she's doing, and she's like, Mala, I'm off. I leave this to you. This is way too hard for me because this feels this is exactly what happened. This is your story. I hand you the bird over, your responsibility now, but this is too crazy for me. And
I now remember that part of the question, and let me say, I interviewed Vera for many, many, many hours. And this is how I wrote the film. And her father, kept coming up in these conversations. And the story about him appearing at this 50th birthday party is not made up. The story of her booking shows from the clinic under the house where the screams of the patients reverberate up the stairs while they're having lunch, it's not made up. Her sneaking behind her parents' back and having a different apartment, it's not made up. This all is what Vera Brandes told me. This is her story.
So I have a question to the producers. What did you think when Ido, I don't know how did you know of this project, but when you heard there's a film, should be a film about a woman who makes the concert, not about Keith Jarrett, what did you think?
Well, I think, first of all, we have to give credit to Oren Moverman, who is also here with us, who is the person that had, I think, the first vision for how this film could come together. We had... We were fortunate enough to both work on a film called The Tale by Jennifer Fox back in the day. And that's how we got to know each other. And Oren called me one day and said, I have a friend who wants to make a film, and it's set in Germany, and I think you guys are the right ones for it. And we read a couple of pages and were immediately hooked. Our company is usually focused on international co-productions, on world cinema, and we were very excited by the idea of doing all that we can and that we have learned as producers in Germany for a change, and saw this as a great opportunity. We knew this film has a built-in audience, you could say, and we were then basically tasked with, first of all, finding Vera Brandes. We found her in Greece, and called her and asked her if she would allow us to make a film about her and her life. And I remember there was after I told her this, there was a long sigh, a long silence, and then a long sigh, and I got very nervous. And then she said, finally. And that was the moment when I knew, okay, she will be very generous with us and allow us to tell her story. And she was. And as Ido said, you said earlier, there's no Köln concert without Vera Brandes. There's also no Köln 75 without Vera Brandes.
That's right.
True.
I think what was also very, very attractive to us with this project was that we keep getting, as German producers, we keep getting materials offered the whole time. And there are some magical words that is actually negative for us. That, like, you keep hearing about films about the DDR or the refugees or the wars and this and that. And this was like something for us, oh my God, this is a German film that it's nothing that we have seen before, and it has an international potential. So there was a no-brainer for us that we wanted to do this project.
Okay. Any more questions? Yeah, there's one, Mahari, on the right.
Hello, I'm Hari Seguin, African Refugee News. Thank you for this film, because this is the birth of one wonderful woman. You know, I compare her to Nina Simone, what she is for music, you know. But you were talking about Coltrane. He's the master of jazz. Yeah, Miles Davis. I saw them all in Rome during the concerts in the 70s, 60s. How did you manage to put all this? Because, yeah, there is a story, family story, but there is something special, you know, you hit the target about the music also. Even though you said you're not jazzy, we are all jazzy. You know, we are born jazzy.
It's just about the feeling, you know, good music is good music. And I didn't start being a jazz head, but now I am. And, you know, it's like an acquired taste that once you get into it, there's no leaving. And of course, you know, Coltrane, it's not just music, for example, you know, his famous quote, how do you tell a sentence? You start in the middle and you go both ways in the same time. That's how we also tried to make the film. You know, this spirit that guided us.
There's another one on the left.
Yeah, I'm Irina Margareta Nistor. I'm a film critic from Romania. And I've already seen 18 films since my arrival here. And I was mesmerized by yours. And I really hope that you are going to sell it in Romania one day, because I think it will be a huge success, not only for jazz, but because on that time in '74, I was exactly Vera's age, and our life in the communist time was totally different. So it's very important to see also what was a free life and what was somebody could fight for a dream, what you've done, and you've all played extraordinary and really, really mesmerized is the best word. Thank you so much for the film.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The film will come to Romania.
Thank you.
Great news.
It's all.
Any more questions? If not, I would like to thank you for your questions. I would like to thank you for this fantastic film. Thank you for bringing it to us, and good luck with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.